people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A revealing tweet from none other than His Excellency himself, Mr. Turki Alalshikh, who specified via his Twitter account he's going to be working with the PBC, Al Haymon, and there is some exciting news on the way. Featured here in the image is the PBC's own Luis de Cubas Jr. and Lupe Valencia. Lupe Valencia, who acts as manager for Ryan Garcia. For a long time now, it's been rumored that Lupe Valencia has ties to Al Haymon, has ties to the PBC, and this image is seemingly confirmation of that. I suppose it's good news for the PBC and their supporters that Turki Alalshikh might be able to work his magic for them the way he's worked his magic for Matchroom and Queensberry and Top Rank, these other promotional outfits, that he might be able to lend some assistance to the PBC, who's rumored.
They need it.
The word around the campfire is that even though they're in bed with Amazon, Amazon is not giving them a budget like, say, Fox was giving them a budget or Showtime was giving them a budget, an annual budget to do shows throughout the calendar year. Thus, without that annual budget, they must resort to billing their shows, billing their fights as box office fights, pay-per-views, even if they're not pay-per-view worthy, as a means to generate the revenue that would pay for the show.
Crowd-funded boxing.
Where normally you're supposed to be able to do regular shows regularly throughout the calendar year with the budget that your broadcast partner provides you, the well drying up at the PBC seemingly had forced them to do several of their shows as pay-per-views. Box office fights that were not box office worthy due to an insufficient budget, now what seems to be a non-existing budget. But if Turki Alalshikh can step in and bankroll some of these shows,
makes things easier for them.
His Excellency said, "I don't care about the opinions of promoters. I care only about the happiness of the fans, and I look towards the boxers as brothers of mine. And my only concern is to bring the fights that the fans are waiting for. For a long time, I love you fans, and I work for you."
Turki Alalshikh is doing the sport of boxing a great service.
Though how can he hope to help the PBC turn the tide, what is seemingly a promotional outfit that is fast losing strength? The strength of the stable.
Fighters are leaving.
It's not something that Ring IQ made up. It's not me sitting here connecting the dots. Fighters are actually leaving. Kenny Sims, Michelle Rivera,
Dante Wilder, Frankie Sanchez, IBF Super Lightweight Champion, Subriel Matias, IBF Welterweight Champion, Boots Ennis,
who was widely believed to be going with the PBC as soon as he achieved free agency, he instead decided to go with Matchroom. These things in mind, and thinking about a potential partnership between the PBC and Turki Alalshikh and what remains of the PBC stable, what is there?
You don't have to overanalyze this.
At least I don't. For me, it's simple. What fights involving PBC fighters do I even want to see? I can only really think of two fights, two primarily, that I would like to see that do involve one or some PBC fighters. Canelo versus Benavidez, I would like to see that. And perhaps Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. Or Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney. That is a fight that Turki Alalshikh expressed interest in making, but that's where the buck stops. The vast majority of their fighters.
That's it.
These are not careers that I am interested in. Who are we actually talking about? Chris Colbert?
What?
Rolly Romero? The Charlo brothers?
What, Leo Santa Cruz?
When is the last time that guy had a fight? When's the last time Gary Russell Jr. had a fight? Who are we actually talking about, and what is the strength of the PBC stable in 2024? What, Keith Thurman?
Danny Garcia?
When I think about what fighters still remain on that side of the street and what fights I would want to see them in, I don't want to see any of these guys. I'm not interested in any of their careers. So even with the backing, the assistance of a Turki Alalshikh,
They seem like a lost cause to me.
where Turki Alalshikh has played a pivotal role, it has been in situations where he can help to satisfy the financial demands of the fighters in order to bridge the gap that makes a fight possible. But what you see with PBC guys is, it's not really that money is the issue, or it has been.
Not really.
It's a lack of desire. What's held up Gervonta Davis versus Vasyl Lomachenko or Shakur Stevenson hasn't been a lack of finance, it hasn't been a lack of money, it's been a lack of desire
From the PBC.
to make those fights, and we all know why. They're protecting their assets, their investments. They don't want to roll the dice with somebody else's fighters because their guy might lose. More often than not, when PBC fighters go head-to-head with top-ranked fighters, they lose.
Bozdik versus Stevenson, Beterbiev versus Brown,
Crawford versus Diaz, Crawford versus Porter, Crawford versus Spence,
Inouye versus Fulton.
Fury versus Wilder. Do you want me to go on?
With a track record like that against another promotional outfits' fighters, you're wondering why the PBC drags their feet in these situations. Why Gervonta hasn't fought Vasyl Lomachenko or Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney.
It's very obvious why, and I'm not sure that even with a benefactor as powerful as Turki Alalshikh, that is something that can be remedied.
To protect their brand, they protect their fighters.
Look at what they did to Rolly. Rolly stood to make more money fighting Ryan in what would have been a main event, and what would have been a pay-per-view unto itself, and instead, they kept him on their own side of things.
As a co-main.
On an undercard fight that he ended up losing anyway. So Turki Alalshikh's generosity is appreciated, but I'm not sure that he can help these guys out because one, they don't have enough fighters that I'm interested in anyway, and two, their overall philosophy for the sport of boxing, it isn't actually making the best fights.
It's trying to make the best money for the least effort.
Gervonta Davis took to his own social media saying Al Haymon runs boxing. I don't know if this is him gloating over what could be this newfound partnership, or if this is just him trying to take the focus away from tonight's main event with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. A Twitter user that goes by the name MMA Boxing Casual stated, "I disagree. He lost the future of boxing in Boots Ennis."
To which Gervonta Davis replied,
Al doesn't fuck with guys that don't know the business, but keep putting their nose in shit.
"Oh, Al knows the business. Is that what it is?"
Is that why the PBC is an insolvent company that can only be described as an abject failure due to how much startup money they had and how much startup money they blew? What was it? 4 million or over 4 million in just 3 years, kicked off of several networks. NBC, Spike,
Fox,
Showtime Boxing, after 37 years in a sport, run into the ground by Al Haymon. Now you want to have a go at Boots Ennis because he chose Matchroom instead of the PBC? Gervonta Davis continued, "I wasn't going at him. It be guys around the fighter. Example, like Bill. A fucking loser."
I don't think Boots Ennis chose Matchroom over PBC because of anything Bill Haney said. Boots Ennis and his father made it clear
They weren't going to wait around anymore. They were losing too much time. They wanted to be more busy. They wanted to be more active. So they chose to go with Matchroom because they know in 2024, Matchroom is operating in many more markets than the PBC is, and they have many more fight dates than the PBC does. They don't want to wait around for Al to fulfill his empty promises.
But according to Gervonta, Al Haymon doesn't fuck with people that don't know the business. Near as I can tell, Al Haymon doesn't fuck with people that do know the business, because if they do, then he can't manipulate them. He can't control them like he controlled Rolly Romero.
You had this guy reject a main event with Ryan Garcia to fight in a co-main event with Isaac Cruz. Who was he looking out for that time? Because it wasn't Rolly Romero. It wasn't the fighter. And all those years ago when Luis Ortiz rejected an Anthony Joshua fight,
A multi-million-dollar offer for 3 of the 4 major titles at the weight. You had that guy reject that fight to do what?
so that years later he can beg Jared Anderson in Top Rank for an opportunity? Who was Al Haymon looking out for that time? Because it couldn't have been Luis Ortiz. It couldn't have been the fighter. Fighters like Gervonta Davis would have you believe that Al Haymon makes these decisions with their best interests in mind, yet more often than not, they seem to backfire, and it's the fighters that suffer for it.
Not Al Haymon.
The money and opportunities I've seen PBC fighters leave on the table, opportunities that don't come back around, like when Adam Kovnowski was offered a Joshua fight.
We've been all through this.
It's an uncomfortable subject to broach because of Al Haymon's methodology. How it is he's manipulating these fighters into thinking that they're making the right decisions when they're not.
Most of them aren't.
Gervonta Davis thinks that he is because he got to make a lot of money with Ryan Garcia. But how many success stories like that one are there over at the PBC? And for Gervonta, how many more fights like the Ryan Garcia fight do you have left?
The most rewards for the least risks. How many more fights like that are out there for you?
Nobody else wants to say it, but I will. He got lucky. He got lucky that Ryan Garcia, against Golden Boy Promotions' best wishes, moved forward with that fight and accepted a dick in a booty deal. A dick in a booty deal where you're hitting him with weight stipulations up the wazoo. Catch weight, rehydration clause, lower end of the split.
You're just lucky that kid's a fucking moron.
Under the counsel of his manager, Lupe Valencia, who has ties to Al Haymon, it's not hard to see how it was Ryan accepted such a horrible deal.
How that happened.
Now, Gervonta's patting himself on the back that he got to make a lot of money from that fight. But how many more situations like that one do you have left? Because it seems to me that if you want to keep making big money, you're gonna have to take big risks, and that's just not what Gervonta Davis does.
You know what he said?
He said, Al Haymon runs boxing, and to that, a Twitter user that goes by the name Guava Boy said, "You don't believe that," to which Gervonta Davis responded, "I knew he did when he pushed Floyd to the side. You see how my career's been going? I haven't fought in how long, and I'm still above them."
He pushed Floyd to the side.
We've known for some time that Gervonta Davis and Mayweather Promotions, Floyd Mayweather, they had not been seeing eye to eye. And after the Rolly Romero fight, it was reported that Gervonta would be a free agent moving forward, though seemingly he didn't go anywhere. He's still at the PBC. So what might have happened is Gervonta's relationship with Mayweather Promotions ended, but not his relationship with Al Haymon, and not his relationship with the PBC.
It's probably what he means when he says he pushed Floyd to the side.
Though, what actually changed about Gervonta Davis's career? What got better?
It's the same shit.
Seemingly bragging that he hasn't fought in a long while. In case you're not aware, it's literally been a year since he fought Ryan Garcia. It's been that long. The PBC is where you go if you don't want to be active, if you don't want to fight. But Gervonta Ennis, he does. He wants to be active. He wants to build his brand. He wants to get out there and crack some heads.
And where all Al Haymon had was empty promises, Eddie Hearn has a plan. He has a roadmap.
4-fight sequence for Jaron Boots Ennis that starts with a Cody Crowley fight, then a Mario Barrios fight, then maybe a Montestanionis afterwards,
Then Crawford.
saying, line them up and he will take them out. Undisputed at 147. Then step up and take Terrence Crawford out. Assuming that he is still around. Who he didn't mention was Conor Benn.
This 4-fight sequence.
You may be telling yourself that at least 2 of those guys, 2 or 3 of them, are PBC fighters, and for that, why didn't he just go with the PBC?
The PBC had their chance to make those fights. What are you not understanding? They had weeks, they had months to make any one of those fights happen, and they didn't.
Whereas at Matchroom, even if one or some of these fights prove difficult to make, they'll still keep Gervonta Ennis busy while he waits. They'll still keep him active.
That's the virtue.
Unless you want him to sit on the shelf alongside Leo Santa Cruz and Gary Russell and his younger brother Gary Antoine Russell, guys who haven't seen action in a long while.
Why didn't Eddie Hearn mention Conor Benn?
Why isn't Conor Benn part of Gervonta Ennis' 4-fight plan? His roadmap? Well, you'd have to ask Bozy Ennis, Gervonta Ennis' father.
What do you think about Gervonta Ennis and a lot of people saying about UK, Conor Benn? Is that something of interest to you
Don't
guys?
keep on throwing Conor Benn. Conor Benn don't have nothing. We going after all the titles. If Conor Benn get a title, no, we address that. As a matter of fact, if the price is right, the deal is real. You know what I mean? But he's nowhere in the picture.
So
Not
right
with
now,
us.
to go for titles and then
We're
move
trying
on.
to clean the 147-pounder out. Once we clean the 147-pounder, we're going up to 154.
And who do you hope for at 154?
Anybody who got the titles, we after them titles, man.
I love it. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Here's how I see it. Gervonta Ennis' first fight under the Matchroom banner is supposed to be the Cody Crowley fight. After that, I don't know, maybe he fights Mario Barrios? Maybe?
Or Raymond Stanionis, either one.
And maybe by that time, Terrence vacates his titles at 147. They're redistributed. One goes to Mario, one goes to Haymon Stanionis, so that if they fight Jaron Boots Ennis, it's a unification match. And while he's busy...
Say Boots fights Stanionis. Maybe Conor Ben can fight Mario Barrios.
Maybe Ben versus Barrios could be for the newly vacated WBC title. What do you think about that?
Think about this.
Boots versus Stanionis could be a unification match. Ben versus Barrios could be for the WBC title. And Jaron Ennis could fight the winner. In Bosie's own words, at this time, Conor Ben ain't got nothing they need, nothing they want. But if he gets an alphabet title of his own, maybe then they'll fight him. They're on the same side of the street. That's one way that Conor Ben could get Boots in the ring if he really wants him.
What about Crawford?
Sorry to tell you this, but in spite of Eddie Hearn mentioning the name of Terrence Crawford as someone they might fight down the line, it's too far out. Terrence Crawford is in his mid-30s right now. We don't know how many more fights this guy has left in him, that by the time Boots is done with Stanionis, Barrios, Ben, Crawford may have retired. He's already moving up in weight. His next fight is supposed to be at junior middle, while Boots is still at welter.
The rest of the plan sounds good, but I don't know that we ever get Boots versus Bud.
Though still a solid plan, and Matchroom is more able to keep Jaron Ennis active and busy than the PBC, and for that, some are already starting to slight him. In many ways, Gervonta Davis just tried to shade him.
Because he didn't go with Al?
Why? Is he supposed to? Is it written somewhere that if you're a fighter of a certain denomination, you have to swear fealty to Al Haymon? You have to be loyal to him? Why?
Why is that?
Why? Because he looks like you? Because he has the same complexion you do? Because you're of the same race?
No, because two people of the same race would never double-cross each other, right? Two people of the same race would never screw each other over.
Some ridiculous unwritten law. To some guys, what's supposed to be some kind of a code that nobody abides by, nobody really follows anyway.
Think you're in a cartoon or something?
If you want loyalty, get a dog, because this is boxing, and Boots did what was best for him.
The same way some PBC fighters do what's best for them, even when it isn't.
What's being treated like a betrayal, almost, that when given a choice, Jaron Ennis chose to go to Matchroom instead of the PBC so that he can do what at the PBC? Sit on the shelf collecting dust alongside Gary Russell and Gary Antoine Russell and Leo Santa Cruz and Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia.
That's a betrayal?
These guys that are criticizing Boots all of a sudden like it's an act of disloyalty to go with Matchroom instead of the PBC. Hey, are you loyal to every guy that looks like you?
Just because he looks like you.
Comes from the same place or is perhaps the same race as you. Is that how your mind works? Because if it is,
You're a fucking idiot.
you're a bozo, my friend. Because it's the people you have the most in common with that are likeliest to stab you in the back. Betrayal, as they say, starts from within. These internet business guys would know that if they had any actual life experience or business experience, but they don't.
Shut the fuck up.
You don't know shit.
Idiot.
You're just mad at how this makes Al Haymon look.
Because you care more about how things look than how they are.